Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the slightly more formal part of the evening, which is the loyal toast to Her Majesty the Queen. And before I do that, before I ask you to stand up and toast the Queen, I'm going to just read out a letter that we got not too long ago from Windsor Castle. And it was our colleague Ian Smith who wrote to the Queen and said, congratulations on your event, and she responded. And this is quite genuine. It says, Dear Mr. Smith, the Queen was interested to hear that the 8th St Marylebone Scout Group is planning to celebrate its centenary year this year, having been unable to do so in 2021 owing to the COVID pandemic. Her Majesty sends good wishes to you all for a very enjoyable dinner on the 25th of March, and has asked me to thank you once again for writing as you did. Yours sincerely, Jennifer Glendon Davis, Lady in Waiting to Her Majesty the Queen. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you charge your glasses, please, and be upstanding? And the toast is Her Majesty the Queen. Please remain standing now for the toast to the Chief Scout and the Scout Association. The Chief Scout and the Scout Association. Our further toast to the diehards. The diehards. And finally, a toast to our founder Les. We're now going to take a short comfort break. We have our very sacred moment at 9 p.m. where wherever you are in the world, if you're a diehard, you will raise a glass to absent friends. So please take your break. Be back to tables at 9 o'clock, which is 15 minutes. By the way, also, I've been asked to remind you that the bar is no longer free, if it ever was. So see you all at about 5 to 9, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
I was asked about what the pictures were on here, so for those people who don't know what the pictures are, just quick flash through. On the cover, the top left-hand badge is a one-only badge that was handmade for the chairman of the Old Scouts branch, and it gets passed on each year, and you'll see that little ceremony later. The one on the right is our dear Les Kirby. At the bottom left-hand corner is the original frontage of the Mansard, showing the gates with 8SM on. They were actually built by one of my father's cousins in Chesham. And when the new Mansard was built, and you can see it's taken on the same facade as the old building, and it's designed by Tony and Dell. Dell's the main hand on that, but they also, the gates, made the gates in a similar fashion to the old ones and added fleur-de-lis to the top of them as well. As you go inside, we've got the top left-hand picture, Heroes of Almas, the pub just across the road. And I'm absolutely surprised that nobody's done a toast to that tonight. It was there as a little prompt. The picture next to it shows the Chief Scout Lord Roallan in 1949 attending the Mansard, which was a new acquisition then. Next to him is the Duke of Gloucester. Behind him is Jack Evans. That's names that people know. I couldn't identify anybody else. The picture below is the time that Ron Mayer, who was the assistant to the gang show to Ralph Reeder, he came along and did a special cub show about pirates in 1979, I think is the year. And there are a couple of people in that picture that are here tonight if they can identify themselves. The top right-hand picture is our sanctum window. So the sanctum, and there's a book about all the sanctum up at the front there by the door if you want to have a look. The sanctum is an area that was dedicated initially for all the members of the group that fell in the war. And they had their names and portraits put up in the sanctum. And over the course of the years, it's been added to, which is why the list is on the back, of key members of the group that have actually contributed or been leaders or key contributors to the group since that time. And that stained glass window appears in our new sanctum in the Mansard now. It has been moved and put in the same orientation. The window was in memory of the Pryor family. I'm sure somebody here is going to correct me exactly on who it is. It was designed by Lollo, and it was made by Old Scout Albert Wagstaff. The picture below shows Martin Aldrin in all his glory in the Souvenir Handbook of 1957. Stand up, Martin. We'll see if you look the same. Has anybody got a beret for him? And then we can see if he looks the same. The bottom picture is the Scout Troop actually commandeering the Abbey Road Studios crossing, and there are a few members here today from that. Well done. And finally on the back, the round circle with the dot in the middle is the Scouts' very own sign for the Gone Home. Enjoy the rest of your meal. Well done, John.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has arrived. Please take your glasses, be upstanding. Thank you, please. A solemn moment. Wherever they are in the world, all diehards, old diehards, members of the 8th, please, and everyone's at their table. It is now 9 o'clock. The toast is absent friends. Absent friends. Thank you. You may be seated. Oh, no, you may not, sorry. We've got to do the Scout hymn. So I'm going to ask a very famous singing family to come up and lead the Scout hymn. You all know it. Here we are. We've got old Pa Larkin.
And the rest.
We've got young Larkin and young Mr. Larkin. Okay, after 3.
Okay, so I'm going to try and pitch it first.
In Les Kirby style.
No, not like that. Right. Now, all right, got it?
Okay.
Now as I start upon my chosen way, in all I do, my thoughts, my work, my play, grant as I promise, courage new for me to be the best that I can be.
The Larkin Brothers! I would now like to call upon Chris Larkin, who is our friend, to lead us all in the Scout Promise. If you've been invested in the Scouts anywhere at all, anytime, please make the Scout sign. Chris.
That was going to be my bit. Okay, yes. On my honour, I promise that I will do my best to do my duty to my God and to the Queen, to help other people and to keep the Scout law. Thank you.
Be seated. There now follows a toast to our guests, and I would like to call upon Ian Smith, him of the Royal Letter, to come up to the microphone. Yeah, give him a round of applause. Come on, more than that. Ian Smith, everybody!
Good evening, everyone. It's my honour tonight to be able to propose this toast to our guests because there's quite a lot of them. Well, we welcome you all, our long-suffering wives and partners, members of the group, parents and volunteers, particularly those who are regularly involved in the doings of Die Hardia, and also our personally invited guests from the scouting world, our joint district commissioners, Sam and Dawn, and we welcome back special guest County Commissioner of Greater London and Middlesex West, Richard Williams, who tonight, with no duties, has been able to enjoy himself. John told me to tell a few jokes. Well, that's the first one. But I didn't fancy spending the night in a police cell somewhere. The country has lost its sense of humour, and I did not wish to offend anybody's sensibilities. There used to be Taffy and Jock, the mother-in-law, and Bobber Job and so on. So I think I'll stick to something safe and just do some one-liners in an area which you're familiar with, which is COVID. So first of all, there was our local laundrette that had to be taken to the cleaners. Our local kennels called in the retrievers, and there was, of course, the local Iceland store that has its assets frozen. And judging by the potholes about, the tarmac company must have reached the end of the road. Our local bakery also ran out of dough. And finally, my neighbour knocked on my door at 2:30 a.m. this morning. I asked him, 2:30 in the blinking morning. He was lucky. If I hadn't been busy practising on my trumpet, lucky for him. So, we are delighted to be able to welcome tonight someone who appeared to be a tribute act for Nigel Hart by the name of Carl Hankinson. But I see, in fact, that Carl is, of course, our guest of honour. Thank you for sparing the time to come and see us. Since volunteering with the Scouts at the age of 18, Carl has led expeditions to Asia, to North and South America, as well as Europe. And my spies tell me that when he was out with the World Jamboree in Thailand, he seemed to have developed a penchant for eating ice cream and having ice cream breaks. So I hope you've been duly served properly tonight. After the Jamboree in the Philippines rather, they had to suddenly organise the rehousing of some 400 scouts, and because that was in Singapore, being a banker, he suddenly got sent out to rob a bank, get enough money to pay for all the food and accommodation that they would need, and that then had to be split up into small decimal currencies, which he then took back to the hotel to distribute. He is a man of boundless energy, having risen to the rank of County Commissioner of Lancashire. His interest in scouting is genuine and unselfish. Carl understands the need to develop the personalities and abilities of scouts in so many areas that only scouting can provide. And that is why he has volunteered at national level for over 30 years, and why he is now UK Chief Commissioner, since his appointment, that is, in 2021. He has focused on ensuring that the volunteer experience in scouting is something. But
That's Derek.
thank you, chaps. That was excellent. Just what we needed to hear. But in actual fact, his real purpose is to attract, recruit, appoint, and to inform and support 160,000 volunteers in the teaching of 400,000 young people across the United Kingdom. So, turning the page over swiftly, he says, for some extraordinary reason, he still lives in some place called Lancashire, with the support of his wife Dawn and 2 young children who probably seldom see him. Maybe it's just that there's some attraction for Old Trafford up there that keeps him up there. If not, maybe it's just the White Rose of Lancashire has its allure. He absorbs work like a piece of blotting paper. I will explain to those of you who are unfamiliar with such materials later. In his spare time, he works in commercial banking with NatWest, as a trustee also of the Skelton Trust, a charity designed to support voluntary organisations specifically for historic reasons in the northwest of England. So we are very pleased that you have taken your foot off the accelerator to visit us tonight, and we hope you have an enjoyable evening with all our other guests, at the end of which you'll be able to see from Die Hardia that scouting is not just a way of life for a while, but for all your life. So, Die Hardians, I ask you to be upstanding and drink a toast to our very welcome guests. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Ian Smith. I would now like to call on the suspect, our guest of honour tonight, to respond to that toast, Mr. Carl Hankinson.
I mean, I have absolutely no idea where you got all that information from. And I was sat there saying to Dawn, who I met in Thailand, eating those ice creams with, probably, thinking, where on earth has he got that information? I think that's CJ, one of our deputy UK commissioners, that's told you that information. I think she's been your sneak. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Listen, this is a great event, isn't it? Are you so pleased to see each other after 3 years of gloom? Yeah. I mean, I just think that it's important for us all to get together, to see each other and just remind ourselves that we've got the rest of our bodies. We're not just stuck on Zoom and everything else that goes with it. It's great tonight to be with you. Now, before I say just a few words about your centenary, I just want to present an award, if you'll indulge me. In true scouting style, for those of you still involved in scouting, it was due 3 years ago. It's taken us 3 years to get to this, but it's probably opportune that to Cliff we present this award tonight, because as the group scout leader for 30 years, as you've just been telling me tonight, we've never met before, that's an incredible commitment, you know, to scouts, and a credible commitment to this group. They've spoken about me for ages. I'm going to make you stand there now while I say a few things about it.
Stop wilting then.
What strikes me about this, Cliff, is besides presenting you with the Bartley Award for Merit in a moment, and I'll explain that for people that aren't familiar with our ribbons and our medals and whatnot and what we do, but to keep coming back here, from whether you're working in Essex in your company or where you live in Gloucestershire, to make sure the group can keep being led, to make sure that leaders and volunteers and supporters in the group have something they can still be proud of, is a special thing, because every team needs a team leader. And all of us know in our lives, in Scouts, outside of Scouts, that we need people to step up. And Baden Powell, one of your past visitors, called it stickability. And this guy's shown stickability in this role and to this group. So I think that it's a real honour for me to be here tonight to present you with your Bartley Award for Merit, Cliff, in recognition of further outstanding service to Scouting, and particularly this group. So, just while I'm here, if I may, just say a couple of other words that strike me this evening. I know that you are all proud to be associated with this Scout group, either because you are members, because your children are members, because you're associated with someone that's been a member and keeps going on about it to you at home for years and years and years and years. But it shows really what Scouting can give people. It's the glue that binds many of us together. Not in an insular way, but in a way that means that we've got a code for life. When many of us took a promise, many years ago or recently, took a promise that we would do our best and we would help other people. And yet, it seems to me, if you don't mind me saying, that tonight, what you have here is that glue that binds so many people together, the pride in the group. The pride that even though the group through its 100-year history has faltered at times and struggled and closed for a period, you were determined to get it back together, not because you're trying to live in yesteryear, but because you believe in Scouting and you believe in the experience that you had, and you believe that many, many other people in London, in St John's Wood, have the experience that you have that's relevant for them and their future, just as it was for you when you had your future. And so I would say huge, huge congratulations, but a sincere thanks on behalf of the Scouts for everything that you do either supporting us by letting us be responsible for your children from time to time to help them, or also making sure that you support from a distance the re-establishment of your building, making sure that that headquarters is there just not for you but for all Scouts across West London and beyond. It's something to be incredibly proud of, and it really is a testament to what you do that lots of other groups around here about what the diehards do and the support that you've got and the impact it's had on your lives. And so a huge but sincere thank you from me for what you do, and please make sure that this group celebrates its 200th anniversary.
I'll be here.
Many of you I don't think will remember tonight, really. This has been great. I'm sorry I'm on water, but I mean, it's just been such good fun. But make sure it's here for this 200th anniversary. Make sure that we write the next few chapters for this group and the many thousands of young people that will get a better start in life because they've been lucky enough to be members of the diehards. So thank you very much for everything that you've done and continue to do, and enjoy the rest of your night. And on behalf of all of your guests that have asked you to be here, thank you, and a sincere toast back to the Scout group for everything that you continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl. I should now like to call upon Mr. Roy Scales to propose a toast to the group.
Well, I hope when I finish that I get the same offer of approbation from you as well. Shall I leave now? No, Mr. Chairman, honoured guests, old Scouts and active members. But I must begin by taking up a little hubris that I have. A certain person, he happens to be the chairman, made some remark many years ago and seems sticking on it, that I'm the oldest cub in the world. The problem is my wife agrees with him. But nevertheless, I can recall actually starting scouting in Captain Street School. And there we used to meet some of the fellas coming home on leave from the war. And various things. I remember seeing the Scouts standing there, all prim and proper. Awestruck I was at these tall lads, and something to look up to. But I enjoyed that time there, and in fact, I remember having to go back there many years ago when I spent 2 years in that school, and found that some of our tete-a-tete with Robbo, who was our cub leader, was in what became the headmaster's study. So perhaps that bears for the future. But time goes on, and I remember the Duke of Gloucester there at the opening of the Mansurge. Now, I don't want to go through the whole history of our last 100 years. Obviously, I haven't been around that long. It feels like it occasionally, having listened to some of you tonight. But nevertheless, I'd like to cover some areas about the ethos of the 8th. You see, the opening of the Mansurge opened up a whole new era of vision for Les and the current leaders, because obviously at that time the war had come to an end, and they were able to introduce the Whitsun camp, the summer camps, and other activities which became quite famous in the era to keep boys occupied during the week. I remember the Whitsun camp, summer camps, and bear in mind that time was a time of austerity. So I'd take boys to Cumbria, Wales, East Anglia, and various parts of the home counties. Was very new to many of them, who probably never had a holiday in the first place. So it was a new adventure for them, and certainly was for me. But time moves on, and the other things that came up there was that the competitions that we were faced with. I remember the Rhodesian totem pole competition for the Cubs. Also the New Zealand flag competition. I remember going on that. Especially, I went to a place called Perry Wood, which is not far from where I am now. And I was the leader of the patrol. and we had our own responsibility for packing everything up. So we arrive at Perrywood and we undo everything. No tent pegs. But you see, Dave gave us the idea of being a little bit quick-witted. And we looked at the patrol next door that had plenty of tent pegs, but had no billies to cook in. So we did a swap, and we won the competition. So you see, life was a great adventure when you're with the Scouts. And of course, the senior Scouts now started going away with the Rovers. Remember the Rovers? Yeah, I know. They used to go away every other year. And of course, the last time they went away was in Denmark. In September, the Second World War was declared. Les used to risk it, rather. He was warned to come home, never did. He just stuck to the original timescale. But anyway, it gave us the advantage of going to places like Denmark again, to Austria, to the Scilly Isles, to the famous Venice trip. Yeah? They all gave us a great experience. So us boys who'd never stepped out the country in our life, but it gave us a great experience. So, the interesting thing about the group was also the community. And you see in hospitality. And arising out of the German trip just after the war, and it was just after, we had a return visit for German Scouts hosted at the Mansurge. And even more radical, Les, actually a few years later, invited a troop of Japanese Scouts. That didn't go down very well with some people who had had the war experience. But Les stuck to his guns. He promised that he is there to help young lads experience new things about life. So, if I can just look at my notes for one moment, we think about other things like the show we put on. Now, I wonder how many of you remember the first show after the war. About 1946, in the theatre, in the Polytechnic Theatre in Regent Street. Now, I will say this very quietly because I don't want it to get out. But the Cubs enacted the minstrel show. And we all dressed up in, won't say anymore, not the thing now, is it? But I remember some of the Cubs went home on the bus from Regent Street, still in their blacking. So you imagine that. But the annual show brought everybody together. Everybody had to take part. No matter who you were, you had to paint the scenery, be on the stage singing, playing. Some of you actually participated in making the music. Very interesting, and the fact that everybody had to join in. I came home from the army, and one of the first places I went to was the Mansurge. Oh, Les said, I'm glad you're here. I got a place for you in the show on Saturday. You know, that was, and we were saying this evening that Les, if he spoke to you, you never said no, did you? He always found a way of twisting your arm, especially the parents. He always got round the parents. So it's very interesting about that. The other thing about our community, it spread beyond the parents of the group. See, I'm saying these things because we're going to go into a new age. And I remember not only drawing the parents in, but in fact we used to do carol singing around Warncliffe Gardens, Scottish Gardens. And the reason the Scouts went up and down the stairs, over the roof, back down again, to collect money. And what was the money for? Producing about 150 bags of shopping for people in need in the district. I got a friend who used to write about social events, and she often mentioned about the diehards because we were part of the community, which was very important to develop within our group. So, thinking about different things about the group, the important thing is developing and helping other people. And that emphasis was more and more on a community of people. A lot of stuff, including the shows, the jumble sales, and the fairs were run by parents, and we all joined in together, not just them on their own, but the Scouts and the Cubs. So, what about the future? What does all I've talked about mean to you? It means that for you, who have taken up the reins of running into this new century, look back and say, what did they do? We won't be doing it in the same way. You won't be going across London with a track cart, yeah, pulling all the gear. You won't be walking up Edge Road to Elstree for camp. You won't be climbing in the back of a removal lorry with all the gear, yeah, singing there and singing all the way back. No, that's not the way things are done now. Now, of course, you can communicate by the internet, which we're doing tonight. You can fly to places where years ago it would have taken you ages just to think about getting there. There is a new challenge for you in the group. You've got to think of the old ethos of community, training young people, giving leadership, but with new ways that are available to you now. So, I'd like you to be upstanding. I didn't bring my glass round me. Thank you very much.
It's only vodka.
I'd like to offer you, stand with me, to toast the diehards, the 8th St Marylebone Scouts, and all those that lead it now into this new century. The diehards! Well done.
Thank you very much, Roy. I will now ask Cliff, who's known for his brevity, to respond on behalf of the group. It's Cliff Jordan, everybody. Yeah, give him a round of applause.
There we go. Glasses on. All I need now is a script.
Didn't need those glasses before.
Voila. Normally, as you've seen in past, I would have had, at least a volume or two. But of course, that's not the case. Right, on behalf of the group, hello and a warm welcome to everyone, especially my parents and stuff that are here, obviously all our guests, the county commissioner, district commissioner, and of course, our scout commissioner, in effect, as well. All here. Fantastic. 100 years. What a milestone. Well, a lot has happened since the last reunion, which was a couple of years ago. Our group has now joined with lots of other fantastic scout groups that now form the West London district, whereas we were the Westminster district, which was quite a small little district, but now we're a big district. Welcome, well, Sam's gone, but welcome to Dawn, who's our district commissioner, who has been absolutely brilliant. Dawn and Sam, I can't even say how good they've been in where they are with the district and moving things along, and what will be moving things even further as we go by. Can't say enough. Of course, I wouldn't even be standing here if it was not for the dedication and fortitude of the 8 St Marylebone leaders, which are all here, all around the place, fantastic. The assistant leaders, of course, that help them all out. The parents, we wouldn't be anywhere without the parents, and of course the kids, yeah, absolutely. And the other people that don't seem to get too much attention, but of course they're there, and they're there really keeping us all going, is of course the executive committee and the group executive committee, which sit up there. You don't really hear much about them, but without them, we wouldn't be where we are, and we certainly wouldn't be going forward. So that, congratulations to those as well. What all these incredible people bring each week, each month, year on year, is the fun, friendliness and imagination and the skills to make our scouting sections so successful. Their dedication is appreciated by all of our youngsters and parents. This is what makes our scout group such a great family to belong to. Where are we at present? Well, here, for a start. Our group has grown yet again over the last year, which, considering COVID has been there, isn't it in effect fantastic? I mean, who would have thought that? Not only in all the sections gaining new members, but also as part of our group, we now have the Westminster Phoenix Explorer Group, something we haven't had. This scarf of theirs, which is absolutely brilliant, with the phoenix on and everything else, hope you can all see, only arrived to me yesterday, so I've only just seen it myself, and I thought absolutely brilliant. Obviously sporting our die-hard woggles that they have, which is also fantastic. And that's a great thanks to the Beaver section leaders, which have started up, which are Georgie, Justin, who are at the back there. Well done. And the Explorer age group, just in case you didn't know, are from 14.5 to 18-year-olds. So that's a really nice group. It used to be district run, and it still is district run, but they now belong to the district as well as to our group, which is great. And there are other Explorer groups, obviously, within the district, don't get me wrong, and they're doing really well as well. Also, as part of our group, I'll say, there is a scout group. The scout group is just growing. Every time I seem to go down there, it seems to have more people. And we've now got 24 scouts. The scouts run, in effect, by the scout leaders, and I've got to say a big thank you to them, which are Tom Larkin, who's not here tonight, but you might see him later. He's actually in theatre. He's the tiger in Life of Pi, and no doubt when you do see him, he'll probably bring his tiger's head with him. Anyway, so you'll see him a bit later. You've also got Tyler and Hermione, who was here. Unfortunately, sat to shoot off, but Hermione, which also help out, and the young leaders, and without the young leaders which help out, I don't know where we'd be either. And more important again, parent assistance. Seems to be we're going down to parents. If we haven't got the parents, it's not happening either. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The Cub Pack, run by our Kayla, is down here, Nigel Hart. and hopefully this year, we've got another leader that couldn't come along today, who's just about to join us, called Neve, and she's come from Ireland, and she's just moved into the area, and she's stepping up to help us out as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So hopefully now the Cubs, which is also great, will become even bigger, which is great, which is feeding into the Scouts, as we all know. And before the Cubs, we have the Beavers. Now, the Beavers is run by Amanda, who's not here tonight, and Amanda has just been joined by another parent who's just stepped up to say she'd like to be an assistant leader, which is Joanna Jarrett, which is fantastic. So again, the Beavers are in expansion, and without the Beavers feeding into the Cubs, and the Cubs feeding into the Scouts, and the Scouts into the Explorers, and hopefully then becoming leaders, where would we all be? Nowhere. Right. And there's one other person I'd like to mention, and that's a person that's been helping out, well, apart from helping out with all the sections, it's been helping me out, and that is my assistant, or are they called deputy group scout leader, and that is Chris Larkin. Chris? Chris has been helping out, as I said, with all the sections, building up, instigator as well in starting off the Explorer group and everything else, joining obviously the district team as well as on the Explorer side. Invaluable. Without him, I wouldn't even be able to go on, because you need to have those layers, as we all know, of people being able to help you. Chris has been brilliant, so my hat off to him, as I say. Quick one, during the COVID lockdown, just so you know, we, in all the sections, managed to carry on. We did virtual things, and I know a lot of scout groups in the district, let alone in the country, haven't been able to do that. But we managed to do all the virtual meetings every single week as much as we possibly could. With the help of the parents and the kids' enthusiasm, that's another thing that's led us to where we are today. I mean, it's been absolutely brilliant. Scout activities, just coming out of COVID. We haven't been able to do much, obviously, in COVID because of it. But last year, the Explorer group was only just started, immediately went on camps. The Scout group went on a camp as well. The Beavers, which haven't done anything for a while, to say the least, Amanda managed to do a camp, a one-night camp for the Beavers in the Man Surge, which was only literally a couple of weeks ago. Parents, I don't know how they coped with it really. Obviously didn't get much sleep during the night, I'm assuming, because I've done it before, but it must have been fantastic. Fantastic for the kids, fantastic for the beaver group, beaver colony. Let me just put it down. Right, who else we got here? Let's just have a quick look. Right, yes, just about to come up. Something that we've been doing for a number of years with a sister, brother group, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the second Hemel Hempstead, which is run by John, and a fair few of the other leaders have been involved in it and still are involved with the second Hemel. We do a camp every year called the May Camp. And the May Camp, what makes this unusual is the fact that this is a greenfield site camp. As you would imagine, old scouting, as Roy would have said, would have been what they would have been doing there. Chemical toilets. Are kids going to like chemical toilets? That's an interesting one. Proper fire, dug out of the ground, making sure the ground goes back to as is. Everything you have to do, you have to be environmentally friendly for, and the kids just love it. I can't believe how many always sign up to do it, and you think, well, they do it once, well, they might not do it another year, but they do. Year on, year out, and it seems they just love going on greenfield site camps, whereas they've got the luxuries of going on the other camps anyway, where you've got all the facilities and everything else. But that, you've got to make your own things. You've got to do bushcraft, you have to make your own aerial runways. It's getting back to nature as it should be. And we do that every single year with Hemel as a joint venture. The other thing that's just about to come up, and I'll make a mention of this as well, is it's been our centenary year. We've got a centenary camp coming up. This is on the 3rd and the 4th of June. It is an open camp. It will be a one-off camp, never to be experienced again, I hope. Well, I don't say I hope, it will be, but not in my lifetime, in another 100 years. And more importantly, everyone's invited. You're all invited, your friends are invited, parents are invited, everyone's invited. The kids are all coming along. It will be a one-night, overnight stay. For the scouts and for the Explorer Scouts, they'll probably stay a couple of nights because they want to do a little bit more, but that's fine. And it will be something to remember and take forward for hopefully the rest of the youngsters' lives, and it's something they'll always remember. Hopefully we'll always remember it as well. That's, as I say, you're all invited. If you've got tents, bring your tents along. If you haven't got tents, we'll supply you tents. We've got plenty of tents. If you think to yourself, I don't want to do camping, but I still like to come on, there is local hotels, and we will help you get into those as well if necessary. And for those that just want to come up for the afternoon and the evening, that's what it's all about. Come up for the afternoon or the evening. So we're going to have it. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be something to remember. I can't say enough about that. 3rd and 4th of June. Put it in your diaries. And we'll be having a big campfire, of course, that night for the whole group and everyone that's there. And saying that, Michael Kilcooley will probably take charge of the catering. And with the help of Derek and his fluorescent lights, we should have a curry that's not worth eating. But we won't go there with that one. The other thing we're planning, that's just so you know, is later on in the year, in September, this is in the planning stage, we will have a function within the Mansurge where, again, everyone will be invited. It'll be open to everyone to come along, probably on a Sunday. Me and John have got to discuss that and work out some details and bits, but we will let you all know exactly when that is, and hopefully you will all come along if you're available at the time, and we'll see you on that. And that will be, in memory of the last, well, in fact, it's the last month before the end of our centenary year, which is October. So we've been going out. Lastly, and I know you say, thank God for that, it's getting to the end. Right, lastly, I'd like to say how proud I am to be part of the 8th St Maribyrnong Scout Group, the Diehards. I look forward to the new horizons and achievements in our future. The Die Hard story will go on, so keep in touch. We shan't forget, we shall remember, and I'm sure we will grow and bloom forever. That's basically it. The tears are just drawing around, but there you go, that's basically it. And now I'm glad to hand over, I'd like to hand over to the retiring Old Scout branch chairman, which is Mr. Michael Kilcooley. Michael is an old friend, he's an old scout, and will always be older than me. Thank you, Mike. I hand over the mic to Mike.
Thank you very much.
Voila.
Thank you. That was the longest 5 minutes of my life. Thank you, Cliff, for that wonderful response to the toast. I would now like to ask Mr. John Larkin. Sorry, this isn't the day centre. That's tomorrow. Somebody tell him. I would like to ask Mr. John Larkin to come up and propose the health, wealth, long life and happiness of the retiring chairman, which is me.
Follow that. Right, the retarded chairman. I thought I'd look up the definition of retire. It says withdraw. No, I don't think so. Retreat. No, I don't think so. Recede. Yes, definitely a bit of recede. Crawl in and hit the sack. Well, he is Irish after all. He was once dubbed by old Scout Lollo as Michael O'Hooligan. That was because he used to do so much barracking of the speakers and his assassination of guests. Poor old Mike. Anyway, I'll do my best, Mike, to give you the same compliment. Now, who would have thought that a skinny little, bright orange-haired Irish git would become the old Scouts' chairman? Never. Well, there you go. That's right. So especially on centenary year. So he has been chairman before. So not 7 years that he likes to tell you, but on 3 occasions. So the first one.
Plus COVID too.
Yeah. Okay. 1991 was his first visit to the chair. He made it back in 2006, and I don't know why we couldn't find anybody else in 2019. But there you are. You've had 2 years of sort of a freebie, really.
3 and 2 is 5. That's 5 years. It's a record.
So he's basically done not a lot really in the last 2 years. However, he's excelled himself just recently. So originally, Mike set out to be a priest. Yeah, set out to be a priest. If only. At his church that he helped years ago, he used to do a bit of typing of the bulletin each month, and I found a few little copies of what he did. Okay, so this appears in the church bulletin. The fasting and prayer conference includes meals. Ladies, don't forget the rummage sale. It's a chance to get rid of all those old things not worth keeping. Bring your husbands. Irving Benson and Tessie Carter were married on October the 24th in the church, so ending a friendship that began in their school days. Weight Watchers will meet every Thursday. Please use the large double door at the side entrance. And the last one I've put down is the Associate Minister unveiled the church's new slogan last Sunday. I upped my pledge, now up yours. So, although contemplating the cloth, he has taken many a confession from his friends. You will find them all detailed on his Facebook page. He's also been a fashion guru, man at CNA, you might say. Yeah, definitely known as man at CNA. Like he continuously wore an old green tweed jacket till it barely stood on his shoulders. At least when he came on the foreign tour in 1972, we gave him a canvas one so that he looked the same as us. It comes as no surprise that Mike was in the Peckers, well, woodpeckers to be precise. That's something we have in common. Best patrol in the group, definitely the Peckers, yes. And as a fresh assistant scout leader then, I remember going to camp with John and we watched and observed Mike sitting down, giving directions, build this, build that, do anything else with his patrol. very good at doing, giving the commands, but not a lot of, doing stuff. However, with his wit and with his jokes and his spontaneity, he kept the mutiny out, and his patrol exceeded, and they did exceptionally well. I think you won the competition, if I remember right. So well done on that one. So we saw in the programme the picture of the Heroes of Alma, and of course we all frequently went to the Heroes of Alma. Yes, over there. But Mike and his little crowd, when they went over to them, the barman used to refer to them as the Milk Bar Kids. Maybe you can expand on that one. Mike's favourite time of the year was autumn, because with his bright orange hair, he didn't have to wear a hat. He blended in beautifully with all the surroundings. Only now, now that he's gone white, the only problem now with Mike is that when you go skiing, your friends kind of crash into you because they don't see you coming. It's fair to say that Mike also loves antiques. The recent antique roadshow that he went to, people started bidding for him. As a sportsman, Mike was pretty good at badminton. He's pretty fair at that. But his other sports and pastimes, well, they've got issues, really. As good as the sports can be, he is actually a full paid-up member of ARSE, which stands for the Association of Reckless Sporting Events. This is true, isn't it, Mike? I'm not calling it. Which is a little group established to be a member. You have to be a hair's breadth away of actually, permanent injury, basically. Give you an example of this. He was navigating a boat along with Mark Upton in Mark Upton's dad's boat, lovely on the Thames, very nice, down Maidenhead. I don't know what you did to manage to not actually go over the weir. So that was a pretty close call, that. So if you're listening, Mark, you'll remember that one as well. To cast aside the clergy, he went into the film industry. The media was something that, again, we both have in common. And he used to work for ITN, London News, racing around the London, filming, editing, preparing a piece, putting it to the news desk, and it would just go on the floor because they had too many things to edit. He got pretty fed up with that, so he now runs his own video business, and he's been very, very successful at doing that, and he's actually applied his skills to the group over the years, which is brilliant. So thank you very much for that. Mike's given a lot of his time assisting on camps. One of his little specialities is that he says dinner's at 7. Okay, but he's no intention of serving it at 7. He intends to serve it past. But instead of that, he puts things out that he knows that kids won't eat. So it'd be like, peppers and dips and all sorts of stuff. And they come in, where's dinner? And so, well, I haven't got, it's not ready yet, but you can help yourself to this. And so they eat all this stuff that they wouldn't normally eat, which is rather fun. So well done for that. A few years ago, poor old Mike had a brush with St Peter, and fortunately, with his prayers that were answered, and with the surgeon sorted him out, and he's here today. So that was a brilliant recovery, and I know others like John as well has had a close encounter, and again, it's brilliant to see you here. But when Mike went back to his surgeon for a checkup, and the surgeon warned him about his drinking, he said, vodka and ice, that'll mess with your kidneys. Rum and ice, that'll ruin your liver. Gin and ice, well, that's not very good for your brain at all, that brain rot. Whiskey and ice, that's really bad for your ticker. Best thing to do, lay off the ice. Anyway, Mike is a really good mate, really does. Friendship which has spanned for 50 years, and I think honestly, I can honestly say that, as Phil's here tonight and Alan, the people in my patrol, I still see from over 50 years ago, and that is something you won't get anywhere else. So that is what holds us together. While he's been in the chair, though, he has been really good at committing his time and effort to us all. One thing you have forgotten to do, which I shall go and get in a moment, a really true diehard. So you must be upstanding and toast the retiring or retarded chairman.
Retiring chair.
Thank you.
Right, where should we start? Thank you very much, John, for that. I know time is pushing on. I've only just recorded a few words to say. But we have a little, before I do that, I'm just going to ask, the Old Scouts have put together some of their hard-earned pennies, and we've created a little plaque which celebrates the 100 years of the group. And I would like to ask our group president, John Sherry, to come and present it to our Group Scout leader, Cliff Jordan. You'll see the plaque afterwards, it'll be down there. So.
Do the review.
Fantastic.
Cliff.
Wow.
On behalf of the Old Scout branch, this is yours.
Thank you.
I haven't got room in my house, so you can put it in the mansard.
Wow. It will certainly go well on the wall.
It says presented to the 8th St Marylebone Scout Group, the Diehards, by the Old Scouts branch to commemorate 100 years of scouting. Fantastic. Okay, just a few more notes. It's my duty now to hand over the badge of office and the gavel and the, you know what this thing's called? I don't. Just a quick shout out on the internet to Michael Harvey, who's an old scout who couldn't be with us because he's having both hips and 2 knees replaced. Yeah. He is that old, yeah. No, he's having a hip replaced, and he couldn't make it tonight because he can't sit still. We did volunteer him a wheelchair, and we said we'd padlock it to the table and everything, but he wasn't buying. Also, our great friend Len Clark, who a couple of days ago went for a badminton shot that an 85-year-old should never have gone for. He's playing badminton at 88. He went for this shot. Nigel put a bit of spin on the shuttlecock. He missed the shot completely, hit the deck, broke his shoulder, broke his hips, broke both feet, and one of his arms, or something along those lines. Just his shoulder, okay. But the way he goes on, you'd think he had. So Len, if you're watching, get well soon. Now, and yes, thank you. Now, we are all getting old. I remember asking an elderly uncle of mine when we were talking about life and death and all that, and I said, how would you like to go when the time comes? And he was 98. And he said, Michael, I'd like to die at the age of 99 from the bullet of a jealous husband. You've got to give it to him. My goal is to live as long as I possibly can, and it's going very well at the moment. Now, we're coming to an end. Parents, you might be puzzled by this format. It's the same every year. You come again in 25 years' time with the same jokes, the same format, same everything. But thank you so much for your support and for coming tonight. Now, my family, someone said to me, how many sisters have you got? Because Reverend Robinson did the grace. And I said, I've got 5. She said, 5? Yes, 5 sisters, I know. I was the only boy. And I was the only one who wasn't spoilt, in fact. But yeah, it's true. It's true. The hand-me-downs were ridiculous. I spent some time learning Irish dancing. My mum said, you'll go and learn it because you have to, because you're Irish, you've got to go and learn it. The only way I got out of it was by joining the altar servers. And that's the only way she'd let me off. And after that, I joined the Scouts for a bit of, well, they said that's the only way I was going to grow up normal. But look, So, like many youths, I remember being an explorer at 14. And I remember this, knowing everything. At the age of 14, I did know everything. There was nothing to learn. I remember feeling that. I know everything. And I remembered about Mark Twain's comment when he said, Mark Twain said, when I was 14, my father was an idiot. By the time I was 18, I was surprised how much the old man had learnt in 4 years. That was me. That definitely was me. So what I learned from my scout leaders, some of whom are still here in the room, alive even, Roy Scales, who gave us that wonderful speech, was my cub master. And I learned from these guys who are older, just older and more wise than us, who'd been through it all, who'd been through the war, some of them, that you can train anyone to do anything. And that we all have a reset button, which if things aren't going well, press the reset button. I press it every day. Every day I'd reset. And when you do that, there's nothing you can't do. That was one of the things that I learned from them. Also that we all make mistakes. And you can make mistakes and fail at doing things you don't want to do. So you might as well have a go at the things you do want to do. And that was another thing. Just do it. Get out there and do it. And the last thing was that the effect that you have on others is all that matters. What you do, what you say, the effect you have on others, and that's all that's going to be left when you're gone, is the effect you've had on others. I was watching Francesca Martinez, a comedian with cerebral palsy, who's made it through to being a leading comedian in the country. And she remembers when she was 9 years old being at the consultants, and they'd finally put a name on what she had, cerebral palsy, and the consultant said that she would unfortunately never live a normal life. To which she said, "Oh, I don't want to live a normal life, I want to live a fantastic life." The Scouts gave me a fantastic life, yeah. So now, as the retiring chairman, I hope you guys haven't clubbed together and bought me something. You have? Go on, have you? Where? Is it? Hey? Oh, I'll be really embarrassed if you... You haven't, you mean buggers, after all I've done for you. I cannot believe it. Well, look, before I pass the symbol of office on to Tony Thomas, who will say a few words, I would like to ask David Barrett to come up very briefly and say no more than 30 seconds, because we've gone on too long. I'm sorry about this, folks, but, and say a few words about which he will now tell us.
One, two, three. Yes, 30 seconds. It's a pleasure to... David Barrett, been a Cub Scout leader, assistant Scout leader, and for a very short time till somebody rescued me, Avenger Scout leader. All these events, there's always a couple of people who are in the engine room, and I think we sort of miss out sometimes and not thank them. So I think it's important we thank John Lycan and Mr. Hart here, who was one of my Cubs. Thank you very much for organising this. And thank you, and I think we should all thank them sincerely, and I hope you keep going and do it. So thank you very much indeed for organising this event tonight, and the events you have organised in the past and will be organising in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, David Barrett. He was my Cub leader as well. So, lastly, and this really is last, I'd like to pass on the symbol of office, this solid gold trinket, to Mr. Tony Thomas, along with the official gavel and this thing. Tony, would you please come up and receive the award from my very hand? Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Take your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Stand up, Tony.
I'd like to say it was a pleasure, but it isn't.
That's for you. That's for you. This is for you.
Oh wow!
And now he's going to say 4 words.
Can you?
You might need to lower the mic.
Stop it. I would just like to say the bar is open.
Thank you very much, everybody. That's it. Please mingle and make contacts and enjoy yourself.